Everybody's going bananas about this whole Venezuelan thing and the capture of Maduro. You got one side hollering, it's illegal.
This is illegal.
This is illegal in your opinion?
Illegal.
And then you got the other side saying, we just took out a narco-terrorist. What are you idiots on the left talking about? So I decided I would look into this because I want to get to the bottom of it and give a balanced point of view. So we're going to present both sides, the information, and then I'm going to tell you what else I figured out at the very end that's going to tip the scale in the final direction. So let's talk about this whole thing. The arguments claiming that the attack on Venezuela and the capture of Maduro, the drug lord, were illegal. So these arguments, they come from the constitutional scholars and the international law experts. You know, all these people with these law degrees, lawyers, they're a dime a dozen. So they're in all these articles on NBC News, PBS, getting the AP coverage, all of that good stuff. So what they're saying is this, that Donald Trump violated the U.S. Constitution because he didn't have congressional authorization. Now, I did a previous video talking about congressional authorization, and I'm going to mention a fact in the next section related to that. But let's just move on here. So they said that the strike was unconstitutional because Congress alone has the power to authorize military attacks on foreign nations. So their key points are the Constitution only gives Congress, not the president, the authority to initiate a war. So it's a war. And the War Powers Resolution only allows unilateral action if there is an imminent threat to Americans, which, you know, the people critical of all this are saying that there's no imminent threat. Forget the hundreds of thousands of people dying of fentanyl. But anyway, I digress. So Trump's justification didn't meet the legal threshold for emergency self-defense for these people. Okay, next they said that it violated international law and sovereignty. You heard a lot about sovereignty. We can't take the president of another nation because they have sovereignty. So the international law experts that are in all these articles on Bloomberg Law and PBS, they say that the United States raid breached Venezuela's sovereignty and violated the norms against abducting foreign heads of state. So here's their arguments. A foreign leader cannot be seized on his own soil without consent or a lawful extradition process. The U.S. attack was not authorized by the UN Security Council. And even dictators are protected under international law from unilateral foreign military abduction. Okay, now, another couple of points here. They say that there's a risk of setting a dangerous precedent because the critics say that, you know, if the United States can just go and abduct foreign leaders, you know, without authorization from Congress, well, other nations are going to do the same thing because they're going to say, well, the U.S. did it, so why can't we do it? And then lastly, they say that it could trigger a costly war, like we could have an unapproved war. And I'm going to get around to that in the next section. I can't say section today for some odd reason. Okay, now let's go to the second half. Arguments supporting the attack and capture of Maduro. All right, so here we go. These people believe that it's justified. You're talking the usual suspects: Fox News, Bloomberg Law, USA Today, and of course the people in the Trump administration who are speaking on his behalf. So they snagged the guy, and now he is going to be prosecuted by the Southern District of New York. Well, how do you prosecute somebody from another country in the Southern District of New York? Well, they said it's because Maduro was already under a U.S. federal indictment. Okay, it already existed. So Maduro had been indicted in the Southern District of New York in 2020. Who was president then? That was Biden. So he was under indictment for narco-terrorism conspiracy, cocaine importation conspiracy, possession of machine guns and destructive devices, and and related trafficking charges, lots of drug trafficking, people trafficking, all that good stuff. So the supporters say that U.S. had the legal obligation to bring an indicted fugitive to justice. And the operation was conducted in conjunction with U.S. law enforcement, as Trump stated. Now let's talk about the Supreme Court. What did they have to say? Well, the Supreme Court said it doesn't matter how he was captured, if it was right or wrong, if it was legal or illegal.
This is illegal.
This is illegal in your opinion.
Illegal.
Okay? And here's why. It's the Kerr-Frisbee Doctrine, which states that even if the capture violated international law, the prosecution still stands. It doesn't matter how we got him. Once we got him, we can try him. And that's what someone who is an international law expert that was quoted and printed in the Bloomberg Law. Well, how about this? Maduro is not the legitimate president. Now, some analysts argue that Maduro lost the legitimacy after falsifying the 2024 election results.
It's election rigging at its finest.
Which made him not a protected head of state under international law. Okay? So if he's not a lawful leader, he does not have immunity, and the U.S. can treat him like any other indicted criminal. Isn't that interesting? Okay? All right, next point. The operation was a lawful counter-narco-terrorism act. So the supporters say that the strike was not an act of war. It was law enforcement, military hybrid operation targeting an indicted narco-terrorist, similar to operations against cartel leaders. So Fox News legal analysts argue that the president had the authority under existing counter-narcissist and anti-terrorism authorizations. And then last but not least, the humanitarian and security justification. So these people are arguing that Maduro's regime caused mass repression, murder, the largest refugee crisis in Western Hemisphere history. And the supporters say that by removing him, it protects regional stability and prevents further narco-terrorism, and also supports the U.S. national security interest. Now, bonus stuff. So let's take this a step further. So you're going to have to look at all the pros and all the cons. But here's the interesting things that I found out after this, okay? Before all this went down, there's 2 points of contention that kind of push me to one side of this. And so it does look like you could make a case that this was illegal, all right? However, did you know that former President Joe Biden had a $25 million bounty for Maduro? Did you know that? He put that bounty out in 2024. So answer me this. If Maduro can't be kidnapped and he has protections because he's the head of a foreign state, and we can't kidnap foreign leaders of state, right? If we can't do that, then why would Biden put a $25 million bounty on his head? Can you explain that? So all the Democrats that are going bananas, going completely bananas, saying that we violated the sovereignty of a nation, how are we respecting them as a sovereign nation if Biden said, hey, I'll give anybody $25 million to go and get this guy? Now, I know what the answer is going to be. Well, Trump used the military. Okay, fine. But what's the difference? So if Biden said $25 million and some people run down there and they snatch him and bring him back here, what's the difference? He's still paying someone to go get him. And it still means that it's the United States, head of state, the president of the United States, who was behind the capture of Maduro. If someone took him up on getting that bounty, that they wanted to cash in the $25 million. So why is everybody complaining? Seems to me that both past presidents, Trump in his first term and Biden, were after Maduro. And the only difference is one president decided to do something about it, where the other said, I'll bribe someone else to do it for me. So what's the problem? I don't understand that. Maybe you can explain the difference there to me, because I seriously don't get it. Okay, so the other point, for all the people that talk about act of war, we didn't go through Congress and only Congress could declare war, blah, blah, blah. When was the last time that the U.S. Congress declared war on another nation? Do you know? I'll give you time. Think about it. Go look it up. Get on Google. Get on your AI. Now, if your search results said World War II, you are correct. That's right. It's been since 41? Was it 41 or 44 was the end of the war? It's been since World War II that the Congress passes a bill that says we are officially declaring war. Hasn't happened since then. How many foreign military actions have taken place since 1944, since World War II? Well, let's see. We had the Korean War. We call it a war, but it was never declared. We had the Vietnam War, but the Congress never declared war. We invaded Grenada. We had the first Gulf War. We had the second Gulf War. We sat over in Afghanistan, wasting billions of dollars. That war went on and ended with 13 of our own soldiers losing their lives because we just decided to duck and run and leave billions of dollars of equipment there. Was there ever a declaration of war for that? No. So why do we have all these people crying and foaming at the mouth? The Congress is the only one who can declare war. I don't know. I don't understand it. But at least now you have the facts, all right? And now you know that, yeah, both Biden and Trump did not like Maduro and took actions against him, even though the actions of one president were pretty soft. Where, you know, when Biden came in, he immediately took the sanctions off of Venezuela, right? But then he put them back on when Maduro snuck into power and became the dictator. Did you know that? Yes, Biden put the sanctions back on. So then Trump comes in and now he's decided, well, he's going to do something about it. Now, I don't know if we really benefit from the oil. That's a topic for another day, and we could dig into that later on. But all in all, I think people need to just kind of settle down. It probably won't make a hill of beans difference in gas prices right now. And this is not a war. This is not going to end up being a Vietnam or an Afghanistan. The only thing that it possibly could have caused is to piss off the Russians. So it's funny that the people with Trump derangement syndrome say, well, Trump's against Maduro as a dictator, but he sucks up to Putin and he loves Putin. Well, let's think about that. If Trump was so in love with Putin, then why did he destroy millions or billions of dollars worth of defense systems when they just hit Venezuela and snatched Maduro out of that military compound? Do you know where all of those munitions and defense systems came from? Yeah, Russia. Putin put them in there. And Putin was pretty pissed. He wasn't happy about what Trump did and came out and he made a statement condemning the action. So explain to me why you think Trump is sucking up to Putin, is in love with Putin, as you all say, if Putin comes out and makes a statement against Trump. Now, some people thought this could end up leading to World War III because we just blew up all this stuff that Russia put in place down in Venezuela. Probably not going to happen. Right now, Russia's military is depleted. They got that whole Ukraine thing going on. So I don't think them standing up right now is a possibility, or sending the tanks and the planes and the battleships down to Venezuela or over here to the United States to save Maduro, the narco trafficking king. Well, anyway, I'd love to know what your opinion is on this. I kind of like this stuff. And let me know, do you want me to get into more political hot topics like this? We always have to know what Tiffany Henyard's opinion is, and we'll have to get in touch with Tiffany Henyard since we got to have her opinion on everything so people will watch these videos, right? But anyhow, let me know what you think about this in the comments and what else you think I ought to talk about. Should it be Ghetto Jasmine Crockett, or should it be Ilhan Omar? Maybe it's Omar Fathead of Minnesota. Or would you like me to get into 10 balls who is stepping down after his tenure runs out, and the fact that he's not going to run for re-election again. Okay, let me know.